That's it for our 10 topics, but I believe we do have a reader email this week. So I'm not sure if our producer, Ben, is going to bring that. Absolutely. There we go. So here we go. I'm going to read this one
Boom.
off. This is our reader email. And by the way, Drew from Roxbury, thank you so much for sending us an email. We really appreciate it. We appreciate you watching. We hope you subscribed, and we hope you keep following us here on Comeback Sports. Our question of the week from our emailer is, do you think Bill Belichick regrets running Brady out of town? Once again, thanks from Drew from Roxbury. Really appreciate it, my friend. Hard to say. That's a very loaded question. Everybody's been talking about it this week. Brandon, I'd like to hear your thoughts.
I think that's debatable if Belichick actually ran him out of town. And I think so maybe the wording of that is debatable. I think obviously seeing that his quarterback is playing in a 10th Super Bowl on a new team, I'm sure he's regretting it to a certain extent. I think you have to as a coach, as a human being. I mean, as a fan, as being anything involved in the Patriots, I think everybody's like, yeah, hey, we're regretting letting him go a little bit. But I think it's one of those things where it's debatable because he arguably wanted to move on Brady earlier with the whole thing with Jimmy Garoppolo, and Robert Kraft prevented him from moving on that earlier, and obviously we traded Garoppolo instead. We got that extra year with him. So I think it's debatable whether or not he wanted to move on from him earlier than he did, realistically. But I wouldn't say that he necessarily ran him out of town. But I would go back to thinking that you have to have the weapons around these guys. There were no weapons around him. I think that's realistically what was the thing that ran him out of town. I mean, at one point, this guy was playing with the likes of, Randy Moss and Rob Gronkowski. And then the last year that he's with us, he's playing with, a shell of former players that were just, I don't know, just garbage pretty much. So I think that would be the main reason of what actually ran him out of town. Obviously, they didn't want to give him the money too, but I think Brady had a chance to say, hey, I'll stick around for that little bit of less money so I can retire with the franchise that I started with. And I think it was just, hey, he didn't have the weapons. He had the confidence in himself of getting back to that Super Bowl. He just knew he needed the weapons to do it. And here they are, and here he is.
I got a thought on that. With Belichick, he basically has been trying to get Garoppolo into place there for a couple of seasons. And Tom really seems to spit the bit with that. And I think that when you're kind of looking at how things line up, Garoppolo seemed like he wanted to be ready to start and to get some playing time and get a contract. And that was happening at a time when Brady wasn't ready to give it up. And so now at this point, we're in no man's land. And I don't see any way out of it right now. So I think as far as Belichick regretting it, I think Belichick should have advocated and gotten Brady back here to finish out his career while he lined up that next quarterback. And hopefully the next time it would have synced up. But I bet the conversation around the Belichick dinner table is probably pretty quiet these days. So hopefully a brighter future.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a fun Super Bowl watching experience for Belichick, no matter what happens, because he's not in it this year. Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think what happened too is Belichick thought he had the next guy in Garoppolo, and he thought Brady was almost done in 2014. And then maybe even especially in 2016, Brady kept playing above and kept kicking the can down the road as when his playing days were over. He kept playing well, and he's still playing well. He's not the same guy he was 3 or 4 years ago. We know that, but he's still one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL just because of what he knows on the field, and his arm is still there. We saw it with Peyton Manning, especially in that 2015 season. We saw when his arm was just done. He ended up winning a Super Bowl that year because of an awesome defense, and because of his brains, he was able to run the offense still and make a couple of throws that he had to, but his arm was shot. Brady can still fire that football, so he can still do it. I think he's continued to defy how long he's going to be effective as a quarterback, and he's even defied the expectations of Belichick. On top of that, what you said, Brandon, is absolutely true. There was nobody for him to throw to. I think the Patriots were kind of in a salary cap kind of, a tough spot with the salary cap. We saw it with Tooney, where they only franchised him. You know, they didn't have Gronk anymore. There's some debate as whether Gronk would have come back or not, but then Brady told him not to. So I think time just kind of ran out. These guys have been together. They were together for 20 years. So after 20 years of a relationship where you're seeing somebody that much, and they're both these incredibly confident men in this sport full of confident men, and at some point the rubber is going to meet the road, and they're just going to be done with each other. I think that's what happened. I think Brady kept saying, "I keep giving up money every year, and you're not investing into the wide receiver position. We have Gronk, we have Edelman. Now that Edelman and Gronk are getting a little bit older, they didn't bring that next guy in. So I think Belichick's, tough picks in the draft, not really hitting on a guy of an offensive skill position player, and also not really going out and getting a guy in free agency is probably what hurt the relationship the most. And Brady might have stayed if they had that next guy to be that elite weapon. So I think that's what happened there. And I definitely think Belichick regrets it, but also I think he felt like he had to let him walk because of the situation. So it's complicated as usual when you're talking about the Patriots. Very complicated.
Quick food for thought for both of you guys on both of those things. I think, Pat, you nailed it on that topic of, like you said, Brady was taking pay cuts every year with the thinking that, hey, you're going to go ahead and use this money to acquire some weapons, and they didn't actually do it. Like Robert Kraft used it for whatever, who knows what, his personal life, because they didn't use it on any weapons. So I think that was huge with, like you said, Brady wanting to move on. And then I think another food for thought is look at Jimmy Garoppolo now. I think, he said he wanted to be the starter, got the chance to be the starter, didn't do so well, and now San Francisco is even willing to move on from him and to separate ways with him. So I think that shows that Jimmy Garoppolo would have been better off playing that backup role a little bit more, developing and learning from Tom Brady. The Patriots would have been in a better situation. We all would have been in a better situation, but look at us now.
Yeah, well, the thing is, Brady and Garoppolo have the same agent, so you couldn't really, he's going to try to get Garoppolo a starting position and a lot of money, and he's going to try to do the same thing for Brady, so it's tough to keep them together for that long.
Hey guys, I'm gonna sign out here from the lab, but don't forget to give it a subscribe and a like, and you guys are doing a great job here tonight. So I'll take in the rest of the show from here. So, all right, guys.
Ben, thank you so much, man. And Ben had a lot of work to do as the producer and director of this show. We had some stuff going on. That's why we came on late. But not Ben's fault. It was more technology based, and we won't mention whose technology was giving us fits. But we were certainly glad that everything worked out later than expected. But another great jam-packed show once again, Brandon, with all the sports content that's going on.
Yeah, no, this was a fun show. I was really looking forward to it, and I think we delivered with some great topics. I think next week is arguably going to be even better show, recapping the Super Bowl and recapping this great week of sports. So I'm really looking forward to next Wednesday, and I hope everybody else is too. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you come back every Wednesday.
Absolutely. Every Wednesday at hopefully 8 o'clock. Every Wednesday night, we got a lot we're going to talk about in the next few weeks. NFL's still got a lot of personnel things going on. It's only going to continue more even after the Super Bowl. We'll obviously talk about the Super Bowl. The NBA is in full swing. Hockey's in full swing. We'll get back to that. One of Brandon's favorite topics of F1 racing. Their season's going to start in the next few weeks, at least, the preseason side of F1 racing. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Folks, thanks again for joining us here on Comeback Sports. We will see you next time. Make sure you subscribe and follow us on Twitter. Have a good night, everybody.